Before a very recent social event where Brian and I were both invited to, I got super nervous because I never want to go anywhere. And Brian said, "Don't worry, just be yourself and they will love you." On the one hand, I knew what he meant because, well, we all recognize the power of authentic and effortless self-representation. But on the other hand, it made me wonder, how do I really define what is my true self and what is my socially adapted self? How do I make the difference between the two, and whether it's that important to show my real self that is often quite awkward and very vulnerable, and whether the risk of being seen, standing out, and choosing yourself is so worth it. And that's what I want to talk about today. Before we get to three main factors that can prevent us from knowing and choosing our authentic self, let's consider what the term self is all about. In a nutshell, it's a set of characteristics that define us. It can be views, values, experiences, looks, status, abilities, etc. Some of those are innate and constitute the core of who we truly are, and this core is usually called our authentic self, while some are just social constructs or the results of a life lottery, such as gender, skin color, nationality, or like physical or mental abilities, etc. And part of those characteristics are sort of built by us in order to comply with certain life standards, life requirements, whatever. And those are usually called the adaptive or adapted self. And by the way, here in the video, I'm going to use some of the footage that was made on our recent trip to a very beautiful Georgian town of Signagi, where Brian and I went to celebrate our anniversary. There is a more detailed and personal video about that trip on Patreon, so if you want to join the community and thus support my work, the link will be down below. So what can prevent you from just being yourself? Let's be real. Judgments can leave a trace on yourself, even if you are a very advanced explorer of yourself, even if the compassionate self-reflection is part of your everyday routine. Judgments can get under your skin and stay there. Just like it happened with me on my recent hairdresser appointment, I got some unsolicited and very hurtful judgmental comments, and even now I still feel very uncomfortable and very self-conscious and also pissed at myself because I didn't really say what I wanted to say to that hairdresser man. What did guide me that day? Maybe it was fear, maybe politeness, maybe unwillingness to get into an argument with other people being present around us, because I'm naturally a very peaceful person. But yeah, what I really want to say is that judgments can get under your skin and thus force you to act in a certain way so that you can avoid the similar judgment in the future in a similar situation. And this is what gives birth to people pleasers, and if I'm honest, I'm one of them, and I'm still working on transforming this part of my adapted self. And it's hard. We become people pleasers thinking that we will be worthy of being loved only once we are nice enough, and of course it's nonsense, absolutely nonsense. Everyone deserves to be loved and everyone has the right to love. It's a very simple truth, but it's usually very hard-earned truth. The second factor is all about expectations. Other people can have expectations of you, or you can have expectations of yourself, and those are very natural occurrences and they often cannot be avoided completely. Even if you have taken an intentional decision to ditch any expectations of anyone or anything, you still cannot control other people, you still perceive what they think about you. Not all expectations are bad. Some of them can serve as excellent motivations, motivators, but some can hinder you forever. For example, I grew up in the times and in a society where one of the best merits and guarantees of having a good life was the ability to mix in, to go with the flow of the society, and the main expectation that I had was to be quite unnoticeable. Because if you are unnoticeable, then you won't annoy anyone, no one will get mad with you, and you will just quietly reach certain achievements that will be just enough for you. Not less, not more, just enough. Some people fall into the trap of believing that their self-worth is defined by how many expectations they live up to, and it's quite sad. I had to learn the hard way that I'm not just my gender, I'm not just my nationality or my age or my societal status or the money that I earn. And I realized that trying to live up to the expectations shaped by all these categories is a pure waste of my life. Unfortunately, however advanced people's views can seem at this point of history, there is a big dose of illusion in this, in believing that all views and lifestyles are accepted by many. It's not true and it's heartbreaking, and that's why it's also so challenging to be true to yourself, because you just don't meet understanding that you're not living up to someone else's expectations. Labels. Good old labels that make life and people so understandable, predictable, and flat, but we often forget how deep labels can grow into us and drastically change us below the surface. Try to think of a few labels that were given to you in your childhood and that have influenced you tremendously. For example, since very early age, I was told that I'm asocial, that I'm not feminine enough, that I won't be able to survive in the modern world, that I'm poor. And although I should say that the asocial label is pretty accurate, I no longer care about whether I'm feminine or not. I just don't. And I have survived in the modern world. I'm in my 40s and I'm not just surviving, but I'm trying to live fully, and I'm currently working on transforming all my limiting beliefs that come from that poverty label. Labels can be actually good in certain moments of life when we need more simplicity, more solid and clear answers, or stability after all. But these shores can be left sooner or later to explore more vagueness and uncertainty beyond those labels and rigid views. So, what to do with all this? How to figure out which self is your authentic one and which one is the constructed and adapted self shaped by all those judgments, expectations, and labels? I have 3 very doable tips for you. Make a list of your identity elements and explore which ones are really yours. Which of those elements guide you through your everyday life? Which make you feel full and which make you feel like you're an exhausted failure? How do you treat your achievements? What food you like? What clothes you like to wear and why? What people in your surrounding you'd like to avoid and what people you'd like to be surrounded with? It's a very exciting exploration. I have a long history of being a quiet rebel. Quiet because I tend to make peace and conform with whatever I'm said to conform with, but then at some point I ditch everything and start life anew. Rebels can happen at any age. It's never too late to reinvent yourself and replace a labeled identity with your authentic self. But of course, flashbacks can happen. It's just important to give it time and enough inner space. Looking into yourself is scarier than following some labels guidance because you often have no idea what you will find there deep down. And I'm honestly taken aback by people who claim that they have figured everything and everyone out, that they have finally found themselves, that they know everything. I think such people are the most dangerous people because they are rigid, and rigidity and authenticity never go hand in hand. Bring your authenticity first. Try to act from the position of your authentic self, not from the position of your adapted or adaptive self. And I'm still learning here. For example, in that hairdresser situation, it was my adaptive self that acted and handled the situation, and I'm not proud of it. And it's a process. This journey takes time, and it's the small everyday choices that eventually make a great difference. And the last but not least tip is that you should make peace with the fact that you will be disliked. You can be disliked, seriously disliked. Almost everything and everyone around us keeps telling us not to be ourselves in the first place, telling us to adapt, to endure, to comply and conform, to be likable. But in fact, only very few people in the human history were or are 100% likable. And the rest of those people, the rest of us, are just quietly hated by many. It takes real courage to become seen, and it hurts. But that's what we all are here for, not for the looks, but for the essence. To be great, be whole. Exclude nothing, exaggerate nothing that is you. Be whole in everything. Put all you are into the smallest thing you do. The whole moon gleams in every pool, because it rides so high. Feel free to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments, how you manage being your authentic self, what challenges you encounter, or maybe you think that everything that I've talked about today is nothing but speculations of a tired mind. But please don't forget to be respectful and kind. Thank you so much for your time and attention, dear friends, and as always, huge thanks to everyone who supports my work on Patreon and other tipping platforms, because thanks to you, this channel exists and I can make my voice heard. And for now, be safe and keep your heart open, and I will see you soon. Пока-пока!